We are very excited to be doing this, and we have our first speaker coming up. Her name is Amy Farah Weiss. She is the founder and director of, yeah, cheers to her, founder and director of the St. Francis Challenge. And a program they have is called SOS, Safe Organized Spaces, and she is going to tell us all about it. Now, off to you, Amy.
Great, and it's great to be here with all of you. I have the group chat window open, and what Moxie and I talked about was that I would take 10 minutes to present. I have 6 slides here, and then we would have 10 minutes for more direct conversation. So if any questions pop up for any of you during the presentation, please just, might be helpful to just type them out as they come. And so I'll go ahead and get started. I also want to let you know that I put some links in this presentation. So for instance, if you click on the St. Francis Homelessness Challenge title there, it will take you to our website. So easy peasy. St. Francis Homelessness Challenge was founded in 2015 with a mission to do what's necessary and possible to end the crisis conditions of street homelessness. And we do that through essential needs activism, creating safe spaces of belonging and stewardship and shared agreements. And doing this work focused on this for the last 5 years. I've been living in crisis. I've been working with people and organizing with people in crisis. So I actually have been training for equanimity in the midst of crisis for years, as have many of you who have been working to stay afloat in your work, whatever it is. So I just want to acknowledge that and say this is a moment for transformative change and to ensure that everyone does have their essential needs met. And these photos were taken, that photo on the left was taken yesterday with 3 people who are staying in a shelter in the Tenderloin, who are part of our peer organizer local stewards program. And then in the middle, that's a group of people we just happened to meet during outreach in the Tenderloin and saw them off and on over time. And then that's someone who participated on the right with our project for trying to create a safe, organized space and did an interview with us. So this is the kind of energy that's happening right now. And you can go to the next slide. Thanks, CJ, by the way. So we started in 2015, right after the 2015 mayor's race. I actually ran for mayor of San Francisco that year. And this was one of the platform pieces was, why don't we meet everyone's essential needs and have these safe spaces and activate land? And so you can see the energy in that room. We had all these people together on Valencia at the Black and Brown Social Club. And these are all organizer volunteers. And we all went out with a survey and talked to people who were living in tents on the streets at that time and asked them what they thought about this concept of villages. So we did that direct contact and got the energy there. And on the right, that was January in 2016, guys. We were doing a proof of concept. That was at Soma Arts. We partnered with them and we did a proof of concept for what an SOS village could look like with all these different things. And you can go to the next slide. And in 2016, I got a call from a police officer. You totally want this kind of call, because she said, are you the person who helps with porta potties for encampments? And I said, yeah. And she said, there's a gentleman at this encampment who would like a porta potty. And this group called, that's Eddie, who's sweeping there. And you can see the porta potty, we brought it out and SFHC paid for it, was on the hook for it. And we created an organizing structure. And we actually got in the news of the Chronicle. This is back in 2016, but we got on the front page of the fucking newspaper for putting a toilet somewhere. Are you fucking kidding me? In 2016. So that's what was happening back then. that shouldn't be news. We could have solved the issues then and done the essential needs activism. And I was being a liaison between these different groups and the working with the encampment residents. We worked with 3 large encampments, brought porta potties out. I got a lot of more gray hair in my head, I think, because of that. Being on the bottom line for some porta potties. It's real shit, right? No pun intended. We now want composting or different types of ways to do the porta potties, of course, but that was what we had at the time. You can see that we did an art project where most of the residents in that one encampment at Box City had their own shelters that they made. And so we helped do some improvements, and we got the community out there, and it was awesome. That's Fernando Marti of Community Council of Housing Organizations painting with his family there. It was awesome because we brought people together, you know, and we connected from the heart. We're people helping people. That's this concept that we're trying to go for here. Okay, so next slide. So in 2017, we were able to partner with the Impact Hub, which is now closed, unfortunately, but they were opening a place up in the Mission at Cap and 15th. And they allowed us to have one person stay there in these shelters. And we had built, you know, dozens of these shelters that you see there on the left, very high end, very mobile with high end caster wheels. And these are actually code compliant, aside from size differentials. Different municipalities can choose different sizes for the cabins, but we kept trying to work with the city and also different advocacy groups to figure out how is it that we can actually activate land and work in partnership with the city and property owners, whether it be private property or public property. And we created a toolkit, Safe Organized Spaces, and we also did a SOS working group where we invited everyone to come. So if anybody ever says they weren't invited to the party, check with me first, because we invited everyone to that party, and we got actually criticized because we were too inclusive for trying to solve it, because there are people who were part of YIMBY Action that were there, and there are people part of DSA and Coalition on Homelessness, and people like Mark Leno came to one of these meetings before the 28, you know, everyone was there. And we could have done it then. I don't know why. It was Mayor Ed Lee at the time. But, you know, this is, you know, in 2018, finishing up this toolkit. And now it's actually, this SOS toolkit is just a framework. So anyone in California can activate land with this framework and toolkit. And if you go through it, and the link is there, it has different folders too of examples in Eugene and Seattle, their actual working documents, and then the stuff that we did in San Francisco. So it's, the idea is to be really open source, like everybody can do this kind of stuff. So next slide. This last year we focused on activating land. I really wanted the city to partner with us. I want us to be invited. I've been told by people in City Hall, oh, you should just keep trying to activate land on your own and do it anarchistically. Like, people have told me that in City Hall, and it's like, but then you destroy our property and we spend this whole cat and mouse game, and why are you trying to hurt us? Like, why aren't you working with us? I don't understand. I'm confused. When I'm confused these days, I say I'm gonna give it up to love, because I'm just so confused why we're not doing this work together right now. But we did work to try to activate this one piece of land in the Tenderloin, and you see that beautiful vision of what it could be. And that could have been a partnership with Burners Without Borders. That would have been a SOS Stewardship Village right there in the Tenderloin. Now the mayor took that land after we were poised to be able to go through the process, and she wants to do a meth sobering center there. Sure, you know, but it was really bad form, because ours was free to the city. Get how much the mayor's project is, 6.8 million for 18 months, and ours was free. But that's okay, because we're like, let's pivot somewhere else, right? Because we're nimble. We're like a bop bag. We're just gonna keep bopping down. They're gonna keep punching us down. We're gonna bop back up with love and try to figure this shit out, because what else is there to do? So if you could go to the next slide. Just on that note, there is a piece of land that this is where I feel like, ooh, we could actually, this group of people on this call, in this collaboration with the organizing work we're doing with people on the street and in shelters, and your organizing prowess and resources and network, there's land ahoy. You know, right here you see at 23rd in Iowa. Do you guys, I can only see a few of you right now, but do you know this land? It's they call it Gear Park. It's right by, it's Caltrans land. It's right by the 280 freeway. There's parking right by there, but it's fenced off. And there's two large gear structures you can see in that photo there. But this is some hot news right off the press. I ran into Scott Wiener, our state senator from California. Maybe not for long, who knows? He's being opposed by someone. But this, I told him it's a great opportunity for like this trickle down YIMBYism to meet with social justice YIMBYism, and for us to say yes to a village in San Francisco. And this land is special because Gavin Newsom, maybe you guys know this, Gavin Newsom said that there are different land throughout California that he would make available to be activated. And this is our land. The one piece in San Francisco is here at 23rd in Iowa. And we could do an awesome collaborative project there to activate it with a stewardship village. So that's something that I hope we can talk about a little bit. And then the next slide, I'll just show you, this is our last slide. We just did a project where myself and other peer organizers interviewed 100 people experiencing homelessness. And we just finished that up. And we're using that as both like a way to lift up the data and share the stories. And I did include it in a link actually, so you can look at that summary data from our SurveyMonkey interviews. And it's really powerful. It's really powerful to hear people's stories and to see what the needs are and the preferences and everything. And we're using that as an organizing tool as well, because now I'm communicating today and yesterday. I talked with a few people we interviewed who are in the street or in a shelter, and they're trying to organize from the grassroots up, which is so beautiful, to say we want safe, organized spaces. Everyone should have a safe space to belong. And right as I finish this up, maybe CJ, you could press that and play that video.
It looks like it's a private video. I'm not able to click on it.
Oh, drat. I guess I'll work on that when I'm off the presentation. I see I have to,
on the event
it's
too.
on Google Drive, so I'll do that. But this is a video we just made yesterday. I brought some masks and connected with these 3 people who are staying in a shelter in the Tenderloin. And they did, in the video, we have this on Facebook too, which you could share. It's on our Facebook page for St. Francis Homelessness Challenge. This is our greeting, and it's very coronavirus friendly because we were already in the Tenderloin, and so we had to have a way to greet each other without touching, because it was just the realities of it. And so this is the greeting that's in the video. I'll show you. First, we say local steward, and we all are local stewards, and we check in with our own hearts because we're doing this work, and we have to check in with our hearts and know that we've got each other and got ourselves. Then it's human family, and it's kind of like a little bow, but you get to give yourself a little hug. See that? You can give yourself a hug when you're, instead of hugging someone else from afar. And then global village. And that's the kind of thing we can do in San Francisco right now together, because the ethos of Burners Without Borders and Burning Man is so aligned with this work of saying everybody belongs, everybody deserves a place to belong, and we want people to be a team player and to consider their impacts. So with that, I will open it up to some conversation, and hopefully it can be kind of geared towards that 23rd and Iowa site if people want to ask a few questions about that. And then also, how could the Rangers program actually connect with our stewardship training? Because I think that'd be awesome if we had these spaces that overlapped in that way. So thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Anybody
Amy.
have any questions for Amy? Or comments, or want to know some more information? Tiara, if you're still on, what Amy and I talked about in regards to training with the Rangers is she's quite interested in how we interact with people who are maybe in distress or might need a little gentler hand, and our Ranger program definitely works well with that. Do you have anything you could add to that?
I am still here. We could probably make an ask of the Ranger Training Academy to think about what parts of the training overall might be applicable. I mean, just some of the basic body language on how to make a friendly rather than threatening first approach would probably be very helpful for people doing various forms of outreach, when of course we begin outreaching in person.
Yes.
And just to add to that a little bit, we do unarmed crisis response. Just if you're hanging out in the Tenderloin and you're hanging out with people, you're going to be doing some crisis response. And so one of the things that our organization has been trying to get in San Francisco is something they have in Eugene, Oregon called Cahoots, which is an unarmed crisis response training. And in these villages, we are honest about the fact that living in community is challenging. And we know that some people are going to have more challenges than others. And we want everyone to have a toolkit with how they can work through those challenges with honesty and accountability, as well as trauma-informed care, and just understanding that there's that need. So it would be cool to, like, for the Rangers to be in this discussion right now that's happening citywide about unarmed crisis response, because they're trying to figure out who's going to operate this. And I think it'd be beautiful if there was that connection, because what a wonderful way to do it. We don't have a nonprofit currently that does that work here. So there's the opportunity to build this up together.
I think there were a couple of questions in the chat, Amy.
So
Yeah.
what does it mean to activate a space, and what's involved, and what communities does it aim to serve? And then what step of the land project at right now? So we had Scott Wiener's office on our behalf found out that there's a particular person who's a point person in City Hall, and that's the person in that email. I don't know, CJ, if you want to go back one to that email in the presentation. But Dylan Schneider is, working under the mayor's direction at some point around activating this site. But the governor has said, we want this to be able to be leased, and it could be leased for $1 a month. And that's through Governor Newsom's directive and local policy and state policy that allows that. And so in order to activate it, we would want to do it the way that our policy toolkit, if you look at our SOS toolkit, you'll see that it's there's a way that we go about doing these things, and it's community integrated. And so it's good to do a neighborhood needs assessment and put all this information out there. That's what we did for the Tenderloin project, and that information is in this as well. You can see how we put all the effort into activating 180 Jones, that parking lot we wanted to turn into a village. You can see all the documents we turned into the city, and all of that work. It's beautiful because it can pivot to this site. And SFHC got a investment of, we have $135,000 to work with to activate the land. So there would be a certain number of cabins that would meet code that would be on site, and that could be anywhere from 5 to 25 we could put out there as options. And then the people who would be part of it would be screened through SFHC, because we would run the village as part of a community council as well. But we'd screen, and so we've already done these 100 interviews, and we have 100 people that would like to be part of a village, and we could screen that group to see who's willing to go through the trainings and to be part of the effort. So we have a ready-made group to select from that's already said they'll follow all the agreements and they're excited to participate. And working with Burners Without Borders, I think would be, as an official organization, we would write something together to Dylan Schneider and to Shaman Walton, who's the district supervisor, and say that, you know, we're ready to do this step up for the stewardship and activate this site for the use that the governor asked it to be. We won't do it at any cost to you, and we'll do it in a way that's very mindful, and will be full of shared agreements and have a community council and all of that. So this is best practices for activating land, and it just takes that kind of additional partnership. And if 1,000 people who go to Burning Man in San Francisco were to email Dylan Schneider or the mayor or the supervisor and say, we love on this project hardcore, you know, like we love on this, that's very powerful. And we're willing to get behind it and love on it with our action too. That's very powerful. So different levels of possible engagement. I don't know what my time is right now. How am I doing?
About 10 minutes over.
Oh,
It's okay.
I'm done. Thank you. I guess we'll pick it up. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Amy.